Hey guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, today I do have the pleasure to present to you, finally in bloom, the Vanda sanderiana. This particular orchid has been on my wish list since forever. There are a few Vandas that I simply wanted to have, since I have a crush on Vandas, and the sanderiana was one of them. So let's talk about the sanderiana today and take a closer look, see why she is so special, because I'm not the only one who always wanted to have this orchid. The Vanda sanderiana has been reclassified to Euanthe. There is a reason for that, but I will talk about it a little later. It is a species orchid. It is not a hybrid obtained by humans through crosses. However, the one you see in front of you is not collected from the wild. I want to insist a little bit on that. It is illegal to collect this orchid from the wild. And she's not the only one. There are quite a few species which are extinct in the wild at the moment, and people are fighting to protect them. And one of the ways in which they fight is to severely punish people who take orchids from nature. That's kind of a general idea. There are multiple orchid species which are extinct. This one in particular will get you in a lot of trouble if you try to take it from the wild, so don't do it. So as I was saying, the ones we can find available for purchase at reputable nurseries are obtained in cultivation. Whether through cloning or seed propagation, they are not captured from the wild. Therefore, they are slightly different than what we would find in nature, but that's perfectly fine. The Vanda or Euanthe sanderiana is native from the Philippines, and there it bears the name of Waling-waling. It is kind of worshipped by some tribes as far as I know, but you'll find out more about that in the description down below. I'll share with you the Wikipedia link. In the Philippines, as far as I know, it has been declared as the national flower. So you can see how it is a really important species. The sanderiana name comes from its finder, Henrik Frederick Conrad Sander, which Wikipedia tells us is a noted orchidologist. As you might expect, it is an epiphytic orchid in the Vandaceous family. However, why the name of Euanthe? Well, there is actually quite an interesting reason for that. And to show you, I need to get you in a little closer. The sanderiana flower lacks a very common component, and that is the spur, which usually is placed right here behind the lip. The spur is where the orchid flowers store the nectar, and it looks like a tube, which I'll show you on a different flower. But first, let's take a look at the sanderiana. You can see that there is no tube behind the lip. Pollinators are actually attracted to that nectar, and many orchids rely on that spur in order to choose their pollinators. And I'm thinking here about the Angraecum orchids, which have very long spurs simply because they want to attract a single species of moths. In this way, they avoid cross-pollination with different flowers, which obviously is a simple waste of orchid flowers. Generally, most orchid flowers have a spur, and I'm gonna show you on this Vandaceous orchid, which is an Ascocenda. Do you see this formation here? This is a spur. This is what's missing from the sanderiana. Now, why would the sanderiana miss the spur? After all, the spur exists to attract pollinators. Well, to be honest, it is a little bit of a mystery. I'm not sure if scientists actually understood why, but it would appear the sanderiana doesn't really need it. And when in nature something is not needed, in time through evolution, it is completely eliminated. That is, if it is expensive to create in the first place. In nature, we can find many things that appear to be useless, but they're there simply because they're not all that expensive to create. A spur takes out quite a lot from a flower. It might have different aromas, it is a formation which is different from plant to plant, and my guess is that the sanderiana simply didn't need it. As you might have already noticed, my sanderiana is a pink variety. As far as I understand, this is close to the original variety. Of course, as I was saying, in cultivation, we might see differences between these orchids and the wild ones. There are a few varieties on the market as well. There is a variety which doesn't have this lavender pink on the petals and sepals. It is slightly paler, but it has a more browny texture on the sepals. I do have to say that this is my preferred variety. I really love this sweet lavender pink. And this is actually a burgundy on the sepals. The tessellation is not brown, it's redder than that. There is also an alba variety which completely lacks the red pigment. So try to imagine this orchid without the red pigment. The pale pink petals will be white, while the burgundy will be what do you know? Green. That is a very beautiful variety, if I do say so myself. Green flowers are not necessarily frequent in the orchid hobby. But then again, the Vanda sanderiana can be a little expensive and hard to find as it is, let alone the alba variety, so that shall be a project for a different time. The original pink variety is actually what I was looking for, so let's take a closer look at the flower. It is really impressive to believe that this is actually a species. We didn't create it to look this beautiful. But I really want to take a moment and appreciate how intricate this lobe pattern on the sepals is. In the orchid world, it's not uncommon for all of the 3 sepals to look the same. On the sanderiana, however, they don't look the same. The lower sepals have this nice tessellation, while the upper one is almost identical to the petals. It is a pale pink with a few little dots in the center. The petals have that beautiful pale pink color and also a few more dots towards the center as well. The lip, on the other hand, now that's something which I've never seen in a Vanda. We can see the labellum, let's call it like that. You can see it here. It is quite broad and very similar, let's say, to what a normal Vanda should have. On the other side, and I'm not entirely sure how these are called, missing the name right now, but I'll share it on the screen somewhere. These 2 sides, hopefully you can see inside, they have a totally different structure and a different pattern as well. They have a stripy pattern. They don't have that pale pink color, they're rather green, and the stripes are burgundy. There is no dotting or tessellation inside. I do find it quite intricate and beautiful, and I think with this flower you can see it more. I think on this flower the stripy pattern is really showing off. The Vanda or Euanthe sanderiana looks very much like a Vanda. It is, however, a big one. The leaf span is broad, it can grow very tall, and if you look at it, it's quite fleshy, quite robust. It has thick roots and quite fleshy leaves. And of course, it will not save you any space on any shelf if you intend to keep it on the shelf. If you want to hang it, that's a little better, I suppose. But yes, you can see from the size of the flowers, this orchid is not tiny. It can create quite the cluster of flowers, which sadly are not fragrant at all. I didn't detect any fragrance, but with how they look like, I can overlook that. You can see that it tends to bloom on quite the cluster. It is not uncommon to see 10 flowers at a time on a sanderiana. Also, you can have 2 flower spikes at the same time. She is quite a nice bloomer. There are sources which suggest this orchid only blooms once a year. I cannot tell you if that is the case or not, but I will come back to this video and make an update throughout the years. This is the very first time that it blooms for me. I received it about 6 months ago, maybe a little less, and I am quite happy with the display I have. Regarding care, this orchid is no different in my opinion than any other Vandas. I grow it together with my other Vandas in my southern exposure window. It receives direct sunshine, which is filtered through a sheer curtain, so I don't let it get really direct bright sun. It gets watered and fertilized together with my other Vandas. I don't treat her separately or differently in any way. But like with my other Vandas, when they have flower spikes or buds or flowers, I do tend to not let them dry out too much. Since this is a big, robust orchid, it does need quite a lot of hydration, and I am a little wary of letting it dry for too many days. Therefore, I water it maybe a little bit more frequent than the other Vandas. This will, however, change when we get rid of the flowers, aka when they're spent. I'm not getting rid of anything. And so far, I did not see this orchid acting finicky or having particular issues. It simply acts like any Vanda hybrid. It is very comparable to the Vanda pacharas that I always recommend to beginners, so I don't think it is a fussy orchid. I think she's easy to grow as long as you have just typical Vanda conditions. I don't think you'll have issues with this particular one either. In the end, I just really want to thank Jessica who sent me this orchid. You have made me so happy. It's just amazing to have an orchid on your wish list for so long and never finding it, at least mature. And finally, you know, seeing it in front of you, she's just such a beautiful thing to look at. I really love her. I would have loved her even if she were a hybrid, even if she had a spur, to be fully honest with you. And yeah, this is my little baby. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Down below you'll find more information maybe that I didn't mention in this video. I'll link you to articles about this orchid because she is quite a special orchid. Availability has started to increase over the past few years. This one I see costed 36 euros, which, you know, it's not a small price, but considering that when I first learned about it, I could only find seedlings and they were very expensive, and the mature versions were like something that I absolutely could not afford. Prices have gone down, availability is up. That's great. That's pretty much what happens with orchids in cultivation. They need a little bit of time to propagate them and have stock. But I think you should be able to find this orchid a little faster now, and I hope you do. Not in flower shops though. Most of the world doesn't carry this sort of thing in flower shops. Try orchid nurseries, both online and on location. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye!